Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream. I'm pumping them out nowadays. This is my second one in the space of a month. This one is a follow-up of a older live stream I did, where you'll notice the 2 in the title. This is the Amazon Rings of Power number 2 live stream. The first one I did, I think it was earlier this year, or maybe it was the end of last year, I don't know. And back then, we didn't really know a whole lot about the show. I don't even know if there was a teaser out at that point. I think it was like... I think I can check, actually. Okay, it was in February this year, so I don't know if there was a teaser out at that point. There might have been, but we knew very little about the show at that point. We just had like a couple of images, a couple of stills from some of the marketing they've done, which hasn't been great. So I figured, we know a whole lot more about the show now. We've had a lot more images come out. We've had a lot more characters appear. We've had a second teaser trailer. So I thought we can spend the next few hours just going through some of the stuff and talk about it. Because this is regardless of how you feel about the show, regardless of how you feel about Amazon, this is a pretty momentous time to be a Lord of the Rings fan because it's going to be a big deal regardless. So what I am on here, I'm on the Lord of the Rings on Prime subreddit, which is the biggest subreddit for covering the show at the moment. It's where you can find a whole bunch of... It's basically where all like the big news comes out about the show. So I spent a fair amount of time on the subreddit recently because the information is really starting to pick up. So Nola and Audible has changed their Lord of the Rings covers to the Prime artwork. Yeah, isn't Audible an Amazon company? So that makes sense. But that's pretty common for adaptions to do that. There's my Lord of the Rings books actually have images from the films on the covers, so that's fairly standard. All right, so I kind of wanted to do this in chronological order, but it's probably a bit too difficult. So first, I'm gonna rewatch the teaser trailer here, the second teaser trailer, which has been posted on the subreddit. I don't think this was supposed to come out this early. I think it's available if you have like an Amazon sub or something, but for some reason or another, it got leaked early. So I'll give it a watch. And then, is that Spanish or Portuguese? One of the two. Hello everyone, hello Camilo. Okay, so that is the second teaser trailer. So some quick things about it, I guess. I think it's better than the first teaser trailer. I think it has more direction. The first teaser trailer was just a bunch of random clips, whereas this one kind of... There you go, thank you, Cara Defson. It is in fact Spanish. This one isn't just a it's less a random collection of clips, I guess. It has like a central sort of plot to the teaser, I guess, with the whole Meteor Man thing, which people may have encountered. And if anyone's been looking into the show, this whole mystery of whoever this Meteor Man is. So I do think the second teaser is a bit better in that regard. It's still doesn't tell us really anything, but I guess that's kind of what teasers do. They don't really tell you anything. Meteor Man, oof. Just got a warning. Heads up, we've detected copyrighted audio and video in your stream. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. Hopefully that doesn't cause any problems. But anyway. So yeah. Once again, it's their marketing has been very strange. I think strange is the right word. Once again, in the trailer, we kind of don't. Like in the teaser, there isn't really. There are some new things, but then there's also kind of a lot of the stuff we've already seen before. Like we see the Harfoots, the Second Age Hobbits. We see Keller Brimble and Elrond again, who we've already seen. We see Galadriel again. So there's no. There wasn't a lot of new character stuff. There was a few, and we'll go over them soon. But there wasn't a whole bunch of new stuff. Like it's kind of, like I said, their marketing strategy has been very odd. It's like they don't have I don't know. It's like they don't have a plan almost. It's very strange. But anyway, I don't really want to sit there and just kind of look, just pausing the trailer along, because some people did take stills, and stills are better for it. And it's not just the stuff from the trailer I haven't looked at yet. There's also plenty of new stuff, like even like the casting of Keller Brimble I haven't even spoken about yet. So I do want to talk about that. Ivy says, hello from an Aussie in Italy. Hello, Ivy. How are you enjoying Italy? Okay. So, okay, we'll just go down in chronological. We'll go down in like the top to the further down, because here. Okay, so let's start with this has been, I think, the positive stuff here. So these are our pictures of orcs, our 6 new images of orcs that were released. I think IGN released it as one of their press things. So personally, I think the orcs look great. I think the immediate big plus with this is that it's practical. I think one of the biggest complaints about The Hobbit was the overuse of CGI, especially with the orcs, and it's good to see that they're doing a lot more practical things. Like, there's definitely some CGI here, and I think they've said there's some CGI with like some of the minor parts of it. Like I think like with this image, they said the teeth or whatever, it's like CGI, but it's mostly practical, and I think that's really good. I do like some of the outfits they're wearing. Like, this is like, it feels very like primitive orcish kind of stuff. Like, don't know where they are here. There's like wooden scaffolding, and there's like bricks, so it looks like they're in some like possibly some settlement here. Message is getting retracted. I'm not sure what that's about. I do actually like this. It looks kind of it's kind of like it's odd. Like, it doesn't really look orcish. Like, it's like a white sort of fabric, which you don't really associate with orcs. It kind of looks like something you'd see out of Elden Ring. But I think it looks cool. I do think this actually looks cool. Ivy says, it's boiling hot over here. Yes, I agree that the orcs look cool. It's not. It is definitely not hot here, Ivy. It is freezing cold. It's colder. This is probably the coldest it's been in a long, long time. Stewart says, notice that one orc is wearing an elven helmet. Yes, so this orc has been identified as wearing an elven helmet. And actually, if you look at the second teaser trailer that's been dropped, this orc, we actually see elves wearing the same helmet. Um, it's a bit, it's a, it's kind of a bit odd that they have orcs wearing elven helmets. Because I'm fairly certain it's a thing where the orcs don't touch elvish stuff; they don't like them. But I mean, that's relatively minor, and it looks like they're trying to have the orcs play a bigger role. So we'll see how that goes. Andy Smith says, "Good day, mate. Do you have any actors in mind who you'd want to play Sauron on the show?" Honestly, I don't really. I'm not really a big consumer of TV shows and movies, to be honest. So I'm not really. I don't. I don't really kind of have any like favorite actors and actresses. So, you know, in terms of actors who could play Sauron, I'm not really sure. I hope it's someone good looking though. It has to be someone good looking. We need sexy Sauron in the show. Chef says orcs themselves are pretty good, but I'm not that big a fan of the clothing and stuff. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it is a different look. Like it's not. There's definitely some unique looks here. So it's not kind of like the drab sort of armor that we're used to seeing in like the films or in other artworks. Like there's definitely some. If there's one thing I have to say that the showrunners have been audacious about, it's been kind of the whole aesthetics of certain things. The godskin orcs. Yeah, that, you know what? That's exactly what I was thinking about Karadis, and I was actually thinking about the godskin, like the godskin things from Elden Ring. This is exactly what this picture reminded me of. So, Assassin's Creed Gundabad. Don't give Ubisoft ideas. Surbandura asks, what is your favorite character in the Second Age? Ooh, I don't know if I have one. Second Age. I've always liked Tar Minister, but he's not going to be in the show, unfortunately. So, okay, so I think the orcs are like the biggest plus from the show so far. I think the orcs were like it's like they've been one of the few marketing successes Amazon has had. Like the rest of Amazon's marketing has been like just very hit and miss and very kind of like even as someone who's probably a little more optimistic about the show than most people, I do have to say that Amazon's marketing strategy has been very confusing, and the orcs have really been one of the few wins. So next we have Gilgalad. Now, so there's a few things. So, one, he does look kind of like just an average dude. Like, it's... And I think this is something that I think this is unfortunately a problem when you're adapting like elves and you only have like human actors and stuff. It's like it's kind of hard to show off that elven beauty sort of thing. Like I think like Orlando Bloom did it with Legolas, and like Lee Pace did it with Thranduil, but like if you look at a lot of the elven extras in like the Lord of the Rings, a lot of them just kind of look really kind of normal. Like even Celeborn, who was played by Martin Sokas, I think his name is. Like he has 5 o'clock shadow as an elf, and it's just like hard not to notice. So Gilgalad kind of just looks like he kind of looks sort of normal. Like he looks very almost generic in a way, like his face. Like he just looks like an average sort of dude. But in saying that, I think there are some pluses. One, he's got long hair, which I think everyone can agree that that's what we want with our elves. Like the short hair elves is something that I'm still getting used to. It's a very like an audacious change, really. What I do like about him is he looks sad. Like he looks sad. I do like that because I feel like Gilgalad should look sad. He's a guy that's like come from this fallen sort of like we got to witness the end of the First Age. He got to see a lot of death and destruction. All of his family are dead, so I do like that he kind of portrays this sort of he portrays this aura of sadness. I feel. Um, I hope he's like. I think this is probably his crown, but I hope he actually has a proper crown, as he's one of the Noldor. But minor detail. He's got his spear named. He's got his spear Eyegloss here. Now this is a very I'll close this one. They don't like the from what we've seen of the weapons in the show so far. They don't like their wooden handles. They love their metal. But I do think the spear looks really cool. And it's got an engraving here. And I believe that's already been translated. I don't have the exact translating in the back of my mind right now. But apparently it's the same engraving that actually appears in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. Gilgalad's in the prologue of the Fellowship of the Ring. You see him literally for like a single scene. And you can see his spear looks a lot more normal than this. But I think it has the exact same engraving. That's what I've heard. So, personally, like he's got rings and stuff. He's wearing a very golden sort of outfit, which is kind of. I think this is supposed to. I know like Noldor is more like it's like a silver aesthetic, but I think it's meant to represent like the Golden House of Finarfin, so which is what he belongs to. Read some of the comments. Carl Franz asks, "Is Celeborn even alive in the show?" I don't think he's dead. I'm fairly because Amazon don't have the Amazon as far as what we know, Amazon isn't allowed to kill characters that aren't like killed, and they're not allowed to keep characters alive that did die. So I don't think they're even allowed to kill Celeborn. I have seen rumors that he's dead, but I've looked into those rumors and I haven't found a source. It hasn't been leaked as far as I know. I think it's just made up. So I think Celeborn will appear in the show. Whether he appears in the first season, we don't really know. I was thinking about this today, actually, that, they might be wanting to hold Celeborn back because, like, maybe they want to introduce characters in the later seasons just to, have that, like, oh, here's a new character. Like, so Gilgalad looks like one of the Olympians from Clash of the Titans. Wouldn't know. Chef, I was kind of optimistic about it, but the picks have been dropping are discouraging. Yeah, like I said, they've been hit and miss. There have definitely been some pictures that I've seen, and you'll gauge my, my opinions in this stream, but there's been some of the pictures that I've seen that I've been like, I don't really feel too good about that. And there's been other pictures that I've been like, that looks really good, so, Stewart says, I just don't get the point in the short hair stuff. Seems like such a pointless change that can really put you off on watching. I have to agree. I do have to agree with that one. I don't think it's a necessary change. There is some artwork floating around. Like if you guys have seen like Jenny Dolphin's artwork, like some of the elven characters that she's made art of, they have like shorter hair. It's not quite the same style as what we've seen some of the other elves have in this show. And I've actually seen some. I forgot which artist it is, but he's done plenty of artwork for Lord of the Rings, and Aragorn actually has short hair in all of his artwork, which is very interesting because no one else does it, but it's so I do have to agree it's a kind of unnecessary change, but hey, I guess that's what they're going for. Maybe I'll get used to it, maybe I won't. What else we got? Ivy, looks like Romans conquered Numenor, or Dante Alighieri gave that crown of leaves. I don't mind the gold though. Yeah, it does. I did hear like several people say that it looks very Roman. It looks like a very Romanesque crown. Servandura, with which version of Gilgalad's parentage would they go? We don't really know that. the correct version is Orodref, but I mean, yeah, we don't really like. I don't know what they're allowed to use in regard to that. I really don't know what they're allowed to use. So they might go with Fingon, but Orodref is the correct version. Ryan Quinlan, no, but they're allowed to twist and pervert them as they already have. Well, I think that's an interpretation. Like they have a contract, and there's only certain things they can change. There's a lot of things they can change, sorry, but there are certain points that they have to hit, and I think keeping characters alive is definitely one of them. Nola and Keller Brimble is a real disappointment. Yeah, we'll get to him. That's eyeglass thingy. Yes, it is. Keller Brimble looks like an old man, and yet Galadriel looks around the same age as Elrond. They really goofed up the ages. You know what that is? You know what that is? That's the classic Hollywood thing where they like cast the young woman. You can't have like a 45-year-old female protagonist in something like this. That's the Hollywood mantra. So, you know, but yeah, I do think it's the thing with Keller Brimble's actor. You know, we'll get to Keller Brimble soon. We'll get to him soon. So here's an interesting So here's an interesting picture because we were just looking at Gilgalad. Here's the actor who played him in the Fellowship of the Ring, who only appeared in like one or two scenes, and this is our 2022 version. So you can definitely see that they used the you can definitely see that it was heavily inspired by, like, I mean, even the hairline is the same. Like, he's definitely heavily inspired. This guy looks more like I think his name's Mark Ferguson. I think he looks more like a warrior, I guess. But we haven't seen our Gilgalad dressed up in armor yet. Well, proper. We haven't seen him in in a war battle. Okay. Here we got a picture of Lindon, Tyrion, and Numenor. So these pictures everyone's seen these pictures already. So Lindon looks quite cool. I don't know if they're supposed to be Malon trees. I don't know if they should be there then. Actually, they might be there. I don't know about where Malon trees are supposed to be. Numenor looks really good. Like, I have to say, I think the landscapes so far look quite good. That may be meant to be Meneltama. And then Tyrion, obviously. I think this has been... no one knew who this was to begin with, but I think it's been confirmed to be Finrod, so... But this is old stuff, so... Oops, I've just... Hold on, I've just... I've just closed my thing. Okay, sorry, we're back. Okay, so... Alright, Nola, the Tolkien estate doesn't seem to care all that much when Amazon starts messing with stuff. I mean, so far from what we've... The thing is that... A lot of the changes we've seen so far is sort of... I don't know why I did it by all time. Are kind of minor in the grand scheme of things. I know characters' descriptions have been changed, and some of the world building stuff has been changed, but we won't really know a lot of the big changes until we actually get to see the show. So, yeah, that's. Jacob Grimm says Elrond was described as neither young or old looking, and Círdan the shipwright had a long beard, but Galadriel was not described as looking aged. Yeah, see, that's the thing. So the way elven aging works is that until they hit, like, I think it's their third cycle of life where they could grow a beard. So like someone like Círdan, elves looked kind of ageless. So I guess to like a human, sort of youngish. But elves could age. We know elves can age if they were put under great stress, they could actually prematurely age. So in the Silmarillion, we have two occurrences of elves aging. One is Gwyndor in the Children of Hurin, where when he's captured by Morgoth and he's kept in prison, when he escapes and Tyrion meets him, he has like grey hair and he looks like a lot older than what he should look. So that's an example of someone who was basically physically tortured and now looks very old. And the other one is it's like almost a throwaway line, but when I think when Luthien dies in the Tale of Beren and Luthien, it says like King Thingol of Doriath aged quite a bit as well. So it can happen. They might say that's what happened to Keller Brimble, maybe, but probably not. I don't think they'll go that deep. Okay, so we have another one here. So this is Durian the Fourth. Now this is so this is a bit of a conundrum, which is confusing. The fact that we have Durin the Fourth and Durin the Third alive at the same time. So, it's kind of... It's kind of like I'm not sure what the idea is. According to some of the people who attended Amazon's London event, where they invited a bunch of content creators, apparently there is like a story thing explaining why there are two Durins alive at the same time. So I guess we'll find out what the reason there is for that. As we can, I think Durin looks good. I think he looks really good. I don't think there's much else to really say about him. I'm glad they've kind of made the dwarves look less comical than what they appear in The Hobbit. I think some of the dwarves in The Hobbit looked ridiculous, so I'm glad he looks a lot less comical, so to speak. Okay. Alright, so here's our boy, Keller Brimble. So a couple of people have been talking about him. And so I have to say that when I first saw the casting of Keller Brimble, I was I have to say I wasn't the biggest fan. And I'm still very I haven't been won over by this. Like, from what I've heard, this guy is a great actor. But yeah, it's definitely not what I pictured when it came to Keller Brimble. I guess his depiction in Shadow of War, Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War is probably a lot closer to what I guessed he would look like. Which is like one of the only things those games got right, so... So... Yeah, like, I don't know I'm not sure what the logic is. He just kind of... Yeah, he looks too old. Like, I think the actor himself is only like 52 or something. So he probably would have been 50 when this was filmed. But he just looks so much older. Like, I don't know what it is. And I think also his outfit doesn't help. Like, I'm not a fan of his outfit. It looks very kind of like... He looks, it honestly, like, he looks like his outfit is just, like, made of bed sheets. Like, it honestly looks like he's just wearing a bed sheet around, like an expensive bed sheet. So, hopefully he gets to wear, like, better outfits as the show goes on. Because at the moment, I'm definitely not sold on Keller Brimble. Like, definitely not. This is one of those times where I definitely need the actor to win me over. If he does a good enough performance, then I will be fine with it. But if it's an average performance, it's gonna be a glaring issue throughout the show. I'll read some stuff. Darth Gandalf, Gorn, Dunedain Ranger. Yeah, it's cold here, man. I need like a ranger cloak too. Ryan Quinlan asks, when were Elrond's sons born? And Tar Elenion Maranwe answered that. Yeah, they were born in the early Third Age. Hasbro Jangles says, hello there. Hello there, Hasbro Jangles. Josh Thomas Moore says, Darth Gandalf, he looks like a monk to me. What about you? I don't know about monk, but he looks like a politician. I've heard people jokingly compare him to Palpatine from Star Wars, like Palpatine in Episode 1. So, yeah, I think maybe he can look better if he wears different outfits, but I hate this outfit. I think that is playing a major role in my dislike of the portrayal so far. Ryan Quinlan says, he doesn't seem slender enough for an elf. I don't think he... Having seen pictures of the actor, like, he's definitely not overweight, so I think that's just the outfit making him look that way. Okay, we'll go back here. We'll see if there's more pictures of Keller Brimble. So, that's an old picture. Tellery Swan Ship Appreciation Post. Alright, so here's our swan ship. This Galadriel. We can't really see much from this. I mean, the ship looks cool. The swans are a cool little Easter egg, as per usual. We can see some of the elves here. Some of their hairstyles look very strange. Like, hairstyles are a big thing, but like, yeah, like this guy looks like whoever this is here, this person in the white here looks like they're rocking a mullet. This person here looks like they're just rocking a normal, like, just like a normal, like, 21st century hairstyle. Honestly, I would really prefer, like, I don't mind if they're short-haired elves, but I would hope that most elves have longer hair. Like, I don't care if the occasional elf has it, but it's going to look very jarring if most of them have short hair. And from some of the pictures we've seen, it definitely looks like that might be the case. Veka says, I can see similarities with Palpatine. Good to see you, Veka. And yeah, that's definitely it. Mr. SRA13 says, not sure if anyone's already said it, whilst I'm extremely anxious about this series. Charles Edwards, Keller Brimble, is a fantastic actor. Yeah, so I've never seen him act, but I have heard that too. So apparently he's a pretty, like, apparently he's a stage actor, like a very kind of good stage actor. And I think if you're a good stage actor, you can nail TV shows. Chef says, it doesn't look too much like a Smith either. Yeah, he doesn't. He's definitely not the definitely not what you'd imagine a Smith to look like. But I guess maybe he's less forming armor, and he's fingers rings and little baubles and stuff. And if that's the case, he kind of looks like the kind of guy that would do that. He just needs some glasses, like a monocle or something. Josh Thomas Moore says, there's bound to be that one elf that wanted short hair just to be different. Nonconformist. Yeah, why not? Celebrimbor crafts a lightsaber. Imagine that. Imagine when Sauron rocks up to take the rings, Celebrimbor whips out a lightsaber. And then the exact day that episode airs, we find out that Amazon's bought Disney too. Have some Amazon global media empire. Lord of the Rings, Star Wars crossovers. Okay, so here's our dinner image that we have. This is not a new image either, but I haven't spoken about it, so I don't know where this is. This might be. I mean, this. Who knows? Whether it could be Lindon, it could be Eregion, it could be Lothlorien. The fact that Durian is there, I'm thinking it's probably Eregion or Lothlorien rather than Lindon. But he could have travelled that far. So we've got all our elves. We've got some important ones. We've got I don't know who that is there, but we've got Celebrimbor, we've got Elrond, we've got Gilgalad there. Don't know who the people are on the other side, so not much to really kind of. I don't know. I don't know if there's too much to. I'm not really a great analyzer of images. This isn't really my forte. I'm not the kind of person that sits there and spots 150 little details. So pictures like this, I kind of see it and I'm just like, cool, or bad. I do like one thing I do like is the veils they're wearing. I think that's kind of like neat. I don't know why. There's no reason for me to think that, but I don't know. It feels very like elven. But I do like the lamps. The set looks really like the sets so far from what I've seen do look good. So I think they've got that going for them. I think the a lot of the budget has gone towards the visuals, and so far I think the visuals are good. Galadriel front. Oh, they're wearing. He's wearing like a. Yeah, just not sure. Jimmy says he is Feanor's grandson, so if anyone's making it, it's him. Yeah, I mean, what is a better achievement, making the Silmarils or making a lightsaber? Xavier Montes Dioca. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Keller Brimble looks like a regular dude. Keller Brimble Johnson, Walmart manager. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what Walmart managers look like, but I suppose it could definitely look like one. I quite like the Denner pick, but Elrond and C's outfits are skull. Elrond's kind of just wearing like a. That's a very unflattering still, isn't it? It's just his face. Just something went wrong here. Something went really wrong. I don't mind Keller Brimble's outfit. What are they eating? I thought I saw a Big Mac for a second then. Yeah, it kind of does. From a distance, it kind of looks Big Mac-ish. Imagine that, McDonald's in Middle-earth. If you were in charge of a McDonald's expansion and you had to expand into Middle-earth, where would you open your first store? Are there Walmarts in Australia? No, and hopefully there never will be. Vaka says, when did Elrond decide to grow his hairs in books? No, probably when he retired to Rivendell full time. He just became lazy. He was probably when he got married. He probably did it when he got married. This is his bachelor look. This is like his single and ready to mingle look. He hits the clubs of Eregion and Lindon looking like this, and then he gets married and turns into Hugo Weaving. Okay. So this is quite cool. I don't know if anyone's heard about this. The new book titled Fall of Numenor is coming out in November. It's basically a compilation of, from what I know, it's a compilation of all kind of the, all the tales and stuff from Numenor that we already know. So there's nothing new, I don't think, but it's cool to just have like a compilation of stuff, and I guess it'll help people who haven't read the books or haven't read the specific books required to know more about the Second Age. How's the artwork though? Look at that. You have to admit, guys, even if the show is bad, even if it's bad, like, even if it's like terrible, I still kind of I hope it like goes for its full length, simply because I want to see like this. I want to see this happen on screen. Like, I want to see Numenor get like swallowed up by the waves. I'm sure it'll be a very brutal scene, but I want to see it. Look at this guy. See, he knows what's up. He's saying goodbye. He says he would open one up in the Lonely Mountain. Do you reckon Smag would eat McDonald's? Probably Mordor, unlimited supply of orcs. Yeah, that works. Here's the other picture of Keller Brimble. And yeah, he really does. He just looks... Like I said, yeah, this guy is... I think he's 50. He's like 52. I would have been 50 at the time this was filmed. He does just look a lot... Like... Maybe it's because we're used to seeing like 50-year-olds on screen and they look so much younger than they actually are. Whereas he very much looks his age or even older. I don't know if it's just like just the way his face looks, but he definitely does. He looks like a proper elderly elf. As Bajangle says, I've pre-ordered the book already. I can't wait for it to arrive. Good on you. Vega says, let it burn. You talking about your McDonald's chain? You want to let Smaug burn it? You just opened it up. Come on, man. I feel like dwarves would love Big Macs. Bomber loved Big Macs. Bomber didn't just order one, he ordered like 6 at the time. If that book doesn't have a sketch of Númenórean dancing bears, it's not worth it. Yeah, look, honestly, I could do without dancing bears. I really could do without dancing bears. That's like Tolkien has written some weird shit, but like dancing bears was the weirdest. Like, yeah, definitely the weirdest. Josh Thomas Moore says he's the guy you see in City shouting "The end is nigh." Only now he's shouting "I told you so." Yeah, he's like the prophet, letting everyone know. No one believes him. And would you feel good being that guy? Like, I mean, think about it. You're telling everyone the end is nigh, and then the end actually comes. Like, do you feel that very brief moment of satisfaction of "I told you so"? Like, do you actually feel that way? Do you actually just go, ha ha ha, I knew I was right, as the wave just like crushes you? Like, like it says, dwarves do not eat healthy, so I'm sure there's some dwarves that eat healthy. Nolaran says, please put in the dancing bears. You know, how do you reckon a casual audience would react to like the show if the show had dancing bears, like legitimate dancing bears, like that would, oh, and people think Tom Bombadil would be controversial. Imagine dancing bears. Okay, so this is one of the newer pictures. Okay, so this is Cynthia Adai Robinson playing what appears to be Tamiriel. So this is one of the pictures that has, it's a still from the recent teaser trailer, and this one's picked up a fair amount of controversy. Free guesses as to why. So, okay, the elephant in the room, obviously, Númenóreans were white, and we have a black actress portraying the Queen of Númenor. So, I'm not normally, like, I'm not overly concerned about things like this. I know a lot of people, I know for a lot of people it's a pretty big deal, but for me, I don't really care about a lot of that stuff, like the minor details of the world building. But what I will say is what I don't like is sort of inconsistency within certain things. So, for example, Tamiriel is the cousin of Ar-Pharazôn. Now, I believe Ar-Pharazôn is being played by Tristan Gravel, who is a white dude. We haven't seen him in the show yet. We know he's in the show. We know he plays a pretty prominent role, but we haven't actually seen him in the show. But he's a white guy. So it's kind of... So, for me, it's the inconsistency of that... Okay, we have a black woman playing Tamiriel, and we have a white guy playing Ar-Pharazôn. So if they're going to do that, well, they are doing that, what I want at least is I want some explanation as to why this is the case, okay? So, I was thinking that, I don't know, I guess maybe Tar Palantir, who is her father, might have married a native woman of Middle-earth. He might have married a Haradrim woman. I mean, that could work. And I was I was thinking that maybe they could like sort of have a subplot that's kind of like the kin strife in Gondor in the Third Age. I'm talking about when Castamir the Usurper overthrows King Eldacar because Eldacar is half Northman, and that because he's half Northman, they don't believe he's fit to sit sit on the throne of Gondor, so they overthrow him. And we know that in the Second Age, Ar-Pharazôn does usurp Tamiriel's throne. Spoilers for anyone that doesn't know this, but I'm assuming I'm assuming you guys watch my channel. Surely you know this. So what I'm kind of thinking is that maybe if like Tar Palantir has like a Haradrim wife or something, that maybe the whole like, maybe Tarmiriel's only half Númenorian, and maybe that's how Ar-Pharazôn is able to, drum up discord against her and maybe usurp her. Maybe that's one of the ways he's able to do it. I hope they don't just like, it's not just like sort of unexplained as to why Tarmiriel's like got dark skin and why Ar-Pharazôn has white skin. Like there needs to, for me, it's a matter of consistency. That needs to be explained. So there needs to, like, because, Lord of the Rings is a fantasy universe, but genetics worked the same way as, like, so, like, yeah. There needs to be an explanation for it. And if there is an explanation for it, and it's a valid explanation for it, then I won't mind. As for the actress herself, I haven't seen her in anything. I've heard she was in Spartacus, which, that was quite a while ago. I've heard that she was kind of average, so hopefully she's able to play the role well. She definitely looks like a queen, like there's no doubt about that. But there's, like I said, like I've just said, I want some consistency. I want some consistency in the world building. I'm okay with them changing certain things because in the grand scheme of things, it's minor. It's minor for me. The big deal for me is, the story being good, the characters being well written, and basically them capturing the theme and the tone of Tolkien's work. This sort of stuff, it's minor to me, but that doesn't mean I'm just okay with it. Like, okay with them just going, okay, these two characters in the same family, and one's black and one's white. There's got to be an explanation. That's my thing. Okay, so, Lucas YT says, let's go Hobbits in the Second Age. Amazon's so knowledgeable of the lore that they can create it out of nothing. Well, I think, whilst I don't necessarily think Hobbits should be in the show, Hobbits did exist in the Second Age. We just don't know anything about them. Their written history was lost, and so was their oral history. Because the history that we know of, like the history that we have about the Hobbits in Tolkien's universe, was written by the Hobbits. So they lost their own history at some point. They would have existed back in the Second Age. We just don't know where they were and what they were doing. So they are, in that sense, it's not exactly law-breaking for them to put the Hobbits in the Second Age, but I think myself and a lot of other people probably think it's unnecessary. I feel like it's just almost a way of... It almost feels like the kind of thing that Amazon would be like, okay, you have to have Hobbits in the show because they're instantly recognizable. But, maybe they'll play a role. I hope it's not a major role. But I hope it's not just like they've been shoehorned in. Xavier says, so Elros was the Swarthy, I'm going to assume he said Swarthy, of the family. Probably, probably not. Servandura says the Gollum game will return to Moria. Definitely return to Moria. I hope the Gollum game does well, but I don't think it will. I think it's just a very strange choice. It's a very strange choice for a game. It's... I have no interest in playing as Gollum. Gollum is a very wretched, pitiful creature who eats babies, and I don't know what sort of like playing as an evil protagonist can be fun, but Gollum is like not just he's not just evil, he's pathetic. So. Josh Thomas Moore says, was Tarmiriel known for being angry? She looks really upset at something. I mean, it's a still. Just caught her in a. I think she's like looking around at stuff. In the teaser, I think it's supposed to indicate that maybe she's looking at the meteor that's coming down, but I don't think she is. I get the feeling that she's probably not looking at the meteor in the actual show. But no, I don't think there's a case of I don't think there's a case of Tamriel having resting bitch face. Game of Thrones was able to be diverse while making geological sense in regard to its lore. Yeah, I mean, trying to think. I've almost put it out of my mind. Game of Thrones. I mean, it definitely was. It definitely was possible for them to make Lord of the Rings more diverse without just kind of making random characters diverse, like Arondir, the black sylvan elf. I mean, elves are always described as being fair skinned. So yeah, it's kind of law breaking. Don't know if it was necessary, but if they are going to, they are going to have black elves, I hope they're exclusively sylvan elves. I hope there's I hope there's not any black Noldor, simply because I just feel like it's kind of, once again, it feels like it's just being shoehorned in. As for the dwarves, I have absolutely no problem with black dwarves as well. As I have no problem with black dwarves at all. Dwarves, as far as I know it, their skin color's never described. We assume they're white because Tolkien based them off Norse dwarves. But the reality is that we only see 3 out of the 7 houses of the dwarves. So there definitely is room for black dwarves in the world, absolutely. And Amazon isn't the first to do this. In Lord of the Rings Online, they did this a couple years ago. They introduced dwarves from the other 4 houses that we don't see at all in the books, and they had some really cool designs for them. They were like dwarves that looked like Ukrainian Cossacks or something. There were dwarves that looked like some like sub-Saharan empire. There was dwarves that looked like they were like some Indian empire. Like I think they looked great. So, Tamriel is a faithful, and they are descended from the house of Beor. I mean, partially, but they're mostly descended from the house of Hador. Most of the kings of Numenor, as far as we know, probably should have had blonde hair. It was but then actually, she, who was it? Tar-Palantir's mother was one of the faithful. So, yeah. But I mean, the House of Beor, they are described as they having like anywhere between like pale to dark skin, but I don't think I don't think to this extent. Like when Tolkien used the word like swarthy, it's not really a word that gets used anymore in English. But when he uses that word, it's generally to indicate that they look. The old usage of the word was basically that someone that's like tanned. So maybe like someone that looks Mediterranean, rather than like properly dark skinned. So, Jim Ayres says she replaced an actress halfway through the series and was really annoying in the show for me at least. Okay, so yeah, like I said, when was Spartacus? That was quite a while ago. So hopefully she's improved. Josh Thomas Moore says Amazon has logic. Amazon has scary logic. That's how they've become so powerful. So Shaw says, I doubt it. Yeah. Harry Everett says, hello Harry, good to see you. Tarolenio Moranway said, it could work marrying a Haradrim, but the royal house married within the bloodline of Elros starting after Ardarion. That is a good point. That is actually something that does get mentioned in the Tale of Eldarion and Erendes. It's because Aldarion recognized that marrying someone much who would live a much shorter life than you was probably not a good idea. But I think that can be that's sort of a minor lore thing that I guess can sort of be scooted over. Or alternatively, I mean, Numenor broke so many traditions had broken so many traditions by this point in time that's another one that they might have broken. I can't see the Kingsmen wouldn't have a reason to break with that tradition really, but maybe Tar Palantir did. I don't know. It's a possibility, but yeah, very unlikely. It's a stretch. Saying being drunk and fat in the Vale of Anduin. I've lost what you mean with that one. Sorry, Jim. Xavier says, get ready to see black Numenorians, like literal black Numenorians. Ah, yes, as we know them, black Numenorians. Josh Thomas Moore says, could a half-elf work for non-white characters? Yeah, I mean, it could. We get told that... Obviously, there was only the 3 unions between the Eldar and the Edain. But there could have, but we know there was another union outside of that between Imrazor the Númenórean and Mithralas, who was a Sylvan elf. So there is room for like other half elf characters in the lore. So you could feasibly say that a Avari dark elf, like, you know, married like a Haradrim dude, and their kid came out like non-white. So I mean, that's a thing that could happen. Once again, it's a bit of a stretch, but it's not forbidden by the law, I guess. Aldarion was golden-haired. Yep. Jimmy, as I do feel like Amazon took the term dark elf as they were dark-skinned elves. I mean, no, they didn't. Let's be real, guys. Like, I know people go on about, as you know, like I hate the word woke. I really do. I think it's just such a broad term that people just throw at everything now. They're just like, oh, that's woke, blah blah blah. But the real reason why they have dark skinned characters, like they've got black actors and actresses taking roles. I've seen people say like, oh, it's leftist. This is Amazon's a giant corporation. They're the furthest thing from leftist as possible. What Amazon care about is making money. So tokenism is just a way of sort of pandering to a large audience. Like, there's a big trend in Hollywood recently of like pandering to China, right? So they'll just have stuff will be filmed in China. They'll have like random Chinese characters and stuff. It's the same logic with something like this. Like, they want to tap into audiences that aren't traditionally big fans of fantasy. So that's what this is about. Like, it's not like like Amazon didn't read it and go, dark elf, yep, that's our out. We can that's our out in the law that allows us to do this. They're just like, big corporation. All they care about is making money. Lucas YT, Haradrim or Rune was an open book in which they could show different cultures. They talk about being diverse, but they don't bother trying to show different cultures when the chance appears. I mean, look, we don't know how much Harad or Rune will appear in the show. There is a theory going on that that Arondir, who was our Sylvan Elf character, and I forgot the chick he's interested in, the human chick he's interested in. I have seen theories that that's set in Nirn, in the south of Mordor, so which is fairly close to Harad. So maybe that's maybe there will be Haradrim that appear there. Jim, as we were talking about Hobbit's lost history. Okay, now I understand. So being drunk and fat in the Vale of Anduin, yeah. They got so drunk there that they forgot their history. Where did we come from? We've always been here. The Hobbits have always been in the Vales of Anduin. Men Jeffrey says, it was great hearing you get a shout out on the Nerd of the Rings live stream the other day. Yeah, that made me feel warm and giddy inside. No, I didn't realize they were. I kind of like woke up that morning and they were doing a live stream. I jumped on and yeah, before they'd say a few words in chat, and it was yeah, good. It was nice to get some recognition. Finally, I deserve it. Just Another Voice says, this is not a show about the forging of the rings or the fall of Numenor and Tolkien characters at the heart of their stories. Amazon is just using Tolkien's name as a vehicle for their own crap. I mean, if you mean by their own crap making money, then I guess you're right. But, you know, I don't think we should write off the people who are working on the show yet. Amazon are evil, but you know, I think to write off the people who are working on the show is discrediting them. I imagine there's probably a lot of passion that has gone into this show, so I think I think people should give it a chance at least for the sake of the people who have worked on it, not for Amazon. Xavier says Arondir and Andref. yeah, she's. I don't think that's the name of the show, but I think she's basically just Andref. Okay, so that's Tarmiriel. We can move on. There's quite a few. I spoke to In Deep Geek, another big YouTuber. I spoke to someone a while ago, had worked on the Rings of Power, Marvel movies, and Star Wars. I asked how they compared in terms of scale of production. His response: Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, dwarfs Marvel, and Star Wars. There's no competition. So this definitely reads like my dad works at Nintendo, but I don't see why he would lie. Alright, so here we've got some other pictures in the... Here's Elrond and Keller Brimble again. You know what's funny about this relationship between Elrond and Keller Brimble? It's that Keller Brimble's dad killed Elrond's grandmother, I'm fairly certain. I think that's it. I think Nimloth is his... Nimloth is one of his grandmothers. So that's kind of a... it's kind of a, hey, remember when your dad killed my extended family? That was pretty cool, wasn't it? Saviour, I'll get to that. About the Númenórean army being half female. I'll get to that. There's a... So here's one, apparently Galadriel and the Elves looking at the two trees. This is the theory. Not much to say here. I don't know what they're looking at. It's kind of funny that Galadriel's actress looks so young, but she's actually the same age. I believe when this was filmed, she's actually the same age as Cate Blanchett. So I think that's kind of interesting. Okay, new Arondir image. You know, I have to say about Arondir's actor is that he really does have like elven features. He just has that like elven look in his face. Not too sure about the haircut and the and the whole black elf thing, but he definitely like. I think maybe if they gave him longer hair, it would look he would stand out less. Like he'd. Some are saying the blurry elf is Keller Brimble. Oh, in the back there. Like young Keller Brimble. He's kind of got a similar face, and he's got like similar hair. Okay, so right, so this was interesting as well. So this is a picture of here's our meteor man. That'll never get old. Here's a meteor man, and what we appear to have are Ents. So in an earlier image here, there's nothing, and then all of a sudden we have these two, and then we have a smaller one here, like an Enting. So they're definitely going all out. they're definitely going all out with this show. They've got Ents, which I don't know if anyone really thought that Ents would be in it, but here we go. So that's exciting, I guess. What else have we got? This was a pretty cool comparison. You can see the Aragorn's crown has like a similar sort of look to the like sails on the boat. Here are some of the dwarves. I think the dwarves look the best out of all the stuff we've seen so far. We can't really see them well here, but I think the dwarves look the best. Like, they look like proper dwarves, like, no, not like comic relief, like, proper fantasy dwarves. Like, this guy looks like dwarf as fuck, this guy. Like, this guy's like the ultimate dwarf. Like, look at him. Like, here he is outside of his... This is not a great picture. Okay, I'm trying to find some of the leaks, that... Okay, here are some other pictures that sort of came out afterwards. Oh, read some of this. Long hair signifies long life. When I first saw the actor that's playing Arondir for the first time, I thought of a mixed Haradrim and Númenórean. I think lots of people did. I think definitely lots of people did, because his like audition description sounded like it wasn't just a Haradrim. Therefore, people sort of added like the sort of Númenórean part onto that. But like I said, I think he has very elven facial features. Pretty sure Keller Brimble never left Middle Earth and wasn't alive during the time of the Two Trees. Yeah, he was born in Valinor, like Tara Lenyon said. We don't know the exact date of his birth. We don't actually know if he's younger or older than Galadriel. I think most people assume Galadriel is older, on the basis of Keller Brimble being a extra, like a generation, like an extra generation down from Galadriel. But it's also worth remembering that Feanor was born before well before his brothers. So it is possible that like Galadriel being the fourth, but I think is Galadriel Finarfin's fourth child. So anyway, so it is possible Celebrimbor is older than her, but I think generally most people assume that Galadriel is older. So here's this is one of our half-foot hobbits. Like I said, we have no idea what role they're going to play. I do like the little set stuff here. Some scrolls. So here's our guy Arondir, and he's wearing his armor looks really cool. Like I have to say that his armor looks fantastic. The Sylvan Elves weren't skilled metal workers. They were never like well armed and well armored, and we know that causes them lots of problems. So him wearing like this kind of sort of like, I don't know, it's almost like, looks like wood almost, like type of armor. Like, I think that fits really well. I think the one jarring thing about this image, I wonder what they're looking at, but the one jarring thing about this image is like that, like everyone sort of looks so, I think maybe it's because of the lighting, everyone looks like so sort of like dirty, and then she just looks like, she's like, yeah, I just stepped straight out of a bath. Like, it's a little bit jarring. Josh Thomas Moore says the dwarves look the best, yet they play such a small part in the lore in the Second Age. No pun intended. You better not have intended that part, or they'll axes of the dwarves upon you. Yeah, they do. They don't play a massive role in the Second Age. That's why, like, hopefully they play a much bigger role in the show. I think we know we're going to see Khazad-dûm in all its glory, so that's going to be incredible. Lucas YT, can someone tell me who the kid is supposed to be? I think the kid is supposed to be uh, her son. So I think his name is supposed to be like Theo or something, which doesn't really sound like a very like South name. They live in a village called Tirharad, which means like South Guard or like South Tower or something. I think it was. So I think it's South Guard. So it's not. It definitely sounds more like a northern name. But that's who that's supposed to be. Unless like yeah. Somehow I never knew he was born in Valinor. Yeah, I mean, don't feel bad about that. Keller Brimble's history is a bit of a mess. Like, he's one of those characters where I don't even think Tolkien kind of knew what was going on with him. Saviour says, the Hobbits, I mean, Half-Orcs look like a bunch of meth addicts living under a bridge. I mean, yeah, I mean, when you see Lenny Henry, can we find Lenny yeah, here we go. Yeah. Hey, I mean, if you think, if anyone's seen Russian Lord of the Rings, now those hobbits look like meth addicts. Okay, we've seen this picture. We'll go to this one. Our meth addict hobbits. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on here. They're happy. They're happy. So here's a picture of what appears to be Gilgalad, and maybe that's Galadriel, and then there's a bunch of Noldor kneeling here. You know what? Like, their armor looks very... Like, it does look very fancy, but it doesn't feel Middle-earthy. Like, it almost looks like... Just like the massively oversized shoulder pads. It looks like something from Warcraft. Like, that's what it kind of looks like. I don't know if I like the aesthetic of their armor here, but I will say that they definitely, like, these guys definitely look like they're the cream of the crop. Like, the Noldor are the best. Like, they definitely look like that. So, Jim says, I can't wait to see Khazad-dûm on screen in its full glory. That's definitely it. Xavier says they're looking at Meteor Men. Oh shit, Meteor Men now. Yanis Suiref says the top she's wearing makes her look like she's from Xena the Warrior Princess. I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't. It does look very nice compared to the rest. They're all wearing like rags and shit, and she's got this lovely green dress. Maybe he made it for her. So Bandura says, hey, remember when your father killed my grandmother? Oh yeah, but remember when your grandfather killed my father and two uncles? Well, we only know he killed one of them. As far as we know, he only killed one of the other uncles. The other two died to random rubes. Xavier says, it reminds me of the 80s King Arthur movie. Haven't seen it. Man said Warcraft? Yes, I did. Josh Thomas Moore. The Elven armor looks like it came from Gondor. I mean, what you have to remember is that the Númenóreans learned a lot of the shit they know from the Noldor. So it would make sense that like Gondorian armor is like an evolution of Elven armor, basically. So there should be similarities in aesthetics there. Taralenia Marami says the whole late medieval armor breastplates are decidedly not Tolkien's Middle Earth. That is correct. Chainmail was the thing in Middle Earth. Tolkien never mentions plate armor. I think the only time where plate armor could possibly have been a thing was with vambraces, but vambraces didn't need to be made of plate. So yeah, the plate armor is non-canon. It is completely non-canon. But you know what? The problem is now is that ship has sailed. Like, every Tolkien adaptation does plate armor now. So it's just like, yes, it is true that plate armor is non-canon. Here's again, Arondir. Not much to say here. Is his sheath? Is this a sheath for his knife, maybe? Oh no, this is maybe his quiver. His quiver, his quiver's out of arrows. Shit, now we need to analyze why his quiver could be out of arrows. What was Arondir doing for his quiver to run out of arrows? Oh, this is what he was doing. So he's jumping and running. He's got his arrows here. Then the kid's in the background. Probably something to do with the orcs. Actually, I think we see like I think we see orcs in a forest that looks like this. So I think there's definitely something going on with orcs here. This kid's face definitely has a face of someone that's being chased. And he has like a very focused look on his face. So there's definitely some combat shit going on here. What else we got? We got our loving couple here. Where's the beard? Do dwarf women have beards or not? It's going to become the modern do Balrogs have wings. This is the problem with the Lord of the Rings fandom. We care about the stupid shit. The little shit. If you're wondering, did dwarven women have beards? I think it's mentioned once in War of the Jewels that they do have beards, and then I believe Gimli says that they look quite similar to each other, dwarf men and women. But then in Nature of Middle-earth, it's mentioned all the types of people that have beards, and dwarf women are specifically left out. So, did dwarf women have beards? Tolkien didn't make up his mind, so who cares? Here's Halbrand, one of our original characters. We haven't really got we don't know too much about this dude. Like, I don't know what I like. He's appeared in a lot of their early promotional material, but he hasn't appeared in much other stuff. So I don't know what his role is going to be. I don't know what he's doing. I think lots of people assume that he might be like a man of Eriador, but now I think the theories are that he's actually a Númenórean. I don't know. Yeah, I got absolutely nothing on this dude. Like, who knows what he's supposed to be? I know some people have said he could be Sauron, but I don't know. I don't think so. And here's so here's our Halfwoods again. They've got their little setup going. I don't know, they're doing some sort of ritual thing. They're very big hats. I mean, once again, not much to say. I like the lamps. I like how a lot of it once again appears to be practical. Like, I think that's a big plus. I think that'll definitely help the show out. The fact that a lot of the stuff is practical. So. Okay, what have we got? Yeah, armor doesn't seem too elf-like. Yep. Tar, Elenion, Maramwe says male, scale, Van Braces, and Greaves. Yep. Saviour says, yeah, I've always believed that Middle-earth Second Age Númenórean armor should look similar to that of Lindon. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason why it can't or shouldn't. Even a direct reference to scale is hard to find. Male hallbacks tend to be the... Yeah, I don't know about scale. Someone will have to find that. Find that for me. Maybe in regards to the Haradrim. I don't know. Well, we got it down below. Scale is referenced in Lord of the Rings, Olmo, and implied by metal wrought like Fish's mail. Okay, well we've got our lore expert in the chat, so we've got this going on. We can know stuff without having to search for it ourselves. If anyone was wearing plate armor, I feel like it was dwarves. Well, dwarves were the best metalsmiths, so if you're going to have plate armor in Lord of the Rings, then dwarves... If you give elves plate armor, you then must give dwarves plate armor. Appendix A says dwarf women look just like dwarf men. Okay, yeah. So that's what I was thinking of. Not Gimli. It's mentioned in Appendix A. Dwarf specialized in fishmail armor. Not sure about that. I like Men of the West father theory that Meteor is Arendel's ship running out of fuel. I would. Oh, that's great. I could just imagine like Arendel's just like. I'd like to think that maybe he was like drunk. He was drunk on the job, and he's just like he's so blind. He has no idea what he's doing, and he just steers his ship into the down into Middle Earth. And oops, did I blow up anyone? It gets boring up here sailing around. Running out of fuel. The Silmaril runs out of energy. It wasn't renewable. That's great. Jimmy has, I just envisioned them in plate armor when fighting Glaurung. Well, I mean, you have to wonder. You do have to wonder with like plate armor. Like Turin wears a dwarf mask. And so do the dwarves who fight in the Battle of Unnumbered Tears. They wear a dwarf mask, so I wonder if the dwarf mask was made of plate. Because I don't see, I don't know, would a mask wear as like would a mask work as chainmail? I'm not sure. Can anyone? Is anyone here an expert in armor? Could you have like a chainmail or like a scale mask like that would stop fire? Madura says, which History of Middle-earth volumes are most interesting for a First Age fan? It depends, Serban. If you're interested in a lot of Tolkien's like really early stuff, then the first 3 books. If you're more interested in his more modern stuff, which kind of helps, like, which more makes sense towards a lot of his more modern work, then the last 3 books, Morgoth's Ring, War of the Jewels, and The Peoples of Middle-earth. Those are the 3 best ones. So they're a bit of a slog at times, but they're definitely the 3 best ones. They give you like the most sort of information, like that. That's like when you like. There are levels to being like a Tolkien nerd. There's like reading Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and then it's like people are like, oh yeah, but the Silmarillion's really like that's really tough, and it's like. There's deeper levels than the Silmarillion's. Like, okay, the Silmarillion, what about the Unfinished Tales? The Unfinished Tales, what about the History of Middle-earth books? Oh, you've read all them? What about the letters of J.R. Tolkien? Hydro Dominata says, I guess when fighting a dragon, using scale armor would make sense to move around quicker. And another good thing about using scale armor to fight a dragon is that they might confuse you for a dragon because you're wearing scales. Josh Thomas Moore says, do we know what happened to the flying ship? He's still just flying. Like, that's all he does. It's, you know, he just flies around. Like, he just, that's all he does. He just flies. There's not much to it. Nolaran says, chainmail cannot stop fire. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it would just go through the chain. That is true. Tylenion says, yes, you could have mail covering the face, but the implication with the dwarf mask and visors is plate. Yes, of course. Luckily, I've got some armor experts in the chat. Josh Thomas says you could have had it that dwarves had plate armor and made it for the elves, and that's their out for the plate armor. Well, the Noldor were skilled craftsmen themselves, so like they, you know, if the dwarves have plate, the Noldor could have plate as well. It's just that dwarven plate would be better. I mean, none of it's canon, but like if you're adapting it, then that's what you go with. I think like if you're having like plate in an adaptation, if you're breaking the law, if you want to have plate, I think plate should be limited to dwarves, Noldor, and the Númenóreans and their descendants. No one else should have plate. This way, I think Tolkien imagined dwarf armor being like Vikings, so chain armor and the helmet being similar to those of Vikings, but with a full mask rather than that Viking half mask above the eyes. I don't know if do we get that much reference to dwarven armor? I mean, he did base the dwarves off the Norse dwarves. So I mean, but I don't know. Did Norse dwarves dress like Vikings? Hydrodomina says, "Remember Frodo's mithril shirt? That's scale armor, right? Okay, so it's not literal. It's not literal dragon scales, Frodo." Okay. All right. We've got some. I want to find. Okay, here we go. This is the one that was asked about earlier. Here is some of the leaks from Fellowship of Fans, who are like the premier Amazon Rings of Power leakers so far. Northern says, the best way of surviving Dragonfire in Lord of the Rings is not to be there. I would not care to test any armor against a dragon unless you absolutely had to. Yeah, that is a very good option. I mean, why... Like, why fight dragon when you cannot fight dragon? That's it. That's exactly it. Alright, so... Okay, let's talk about some of the other kind of controversial leaks. Okay, this is from, like I said, this is from Fellowship of Fans who have been fairly reliable so far. This is probably correct because, like I said, they haven't gotten a lot wrong yet. They've gotten a lot of stuff right. They do have a source who clearly has worked quite close in the show. Okay, exclusive. The Númenórean army is split pretty much 50-50 male and female in the first season of Rings of Power. Okay, so I'm not a massive fan of this. I'm not really a fan at all when it comes to this change. I think the reason why I'm not a fan is that I just don't know. It feels like a pointless change. Like it doesn't. Like, we know that Númenor is a rather patriarchal society. We sort of learn that in the tale of Eldarion and Erendis. And that while females could end up ruling Númenor, like, from some of the stuff we learn in Nature of Middle-earth, I'm not going to say that women were second-class citizens in Númenor, but I will say that they were definitely a lot more limited in their activities than men in Númenor. So, the Númenórean army being split 50-50 kind of throws all that out the window. It seems like they're trying to maybe portray Númenor as some, like, equal utopia where it wasn't really. It wasn't. So, I just think... I think this change is kind of, I just do kind of wonder. It just doesn't... Like, having played through Lord of the Rings Online, where there's plenty of female warriors throughout the story, but when it comes to, like, the armies and stuff, they're pretty much all men. Or mostly men. So, the 50-50 split, I think, will be a bit jarring. I guess just have to see how it turns out. I don't know. I'm not a fan of this change. I don't think it was necessary. I think there's definitely room where you could portray Númenor as, like, a patriarchal society. And if you're gonna have female Númenórean characters in there, like, for example, like Isildur's sister that they've created for the show, you could maybe have a storyline with her, maybe, like, trying to get past that. Maybe that's a bit too on the nose, I don't know, but, like, I don't really agree with this change. I'm not a fan of it. I just think it's kind of not necessary. Okay, so we've got some more things in the chat. If you want to imagine what Tolkien thought about armor, think of armor during the Anglo-Saxon period. Yeah, I mean, that's basically what he based a lot of stuff from, that kind of early sort of medieval period. So yeah, plate armor definitely aren't. Servandura, favorite Hobbit movie? The first one. I think it's just got the most charm. The second one wasn't so bad. The third one, not great. Some of the Battle of Five Army scenes were okay, but I don't know. I think it lost its way by then. Jonathan DK, you know anything about how they might portray Anatar? Sauron was such an influence on Lord of the Rings about being on screen. It feels weird to see someone bring that unseen character to life. Yeah, Anatar is a massive, like, he needs to be portrayed like amazingly. He's like probably the most important character, like that they need to portray him very well. How they'll portray him, I'm not sure. Like it's kind of there's been rumors that he might be Meteor Man, but I think I've also read that he's not Meteor Man, so I'm not sure. We have no idea how he's going to be portrayed. We don't even know if he's going to be in the first season at this point. But it's going to be very difficult to bring him to life because, yeah, like you said, in the Lord of the Rings, he's off screen. He doesn't appear on screen. In Hobbit films, he appears occasionally, but even then, it's kind of like some dark, menacing force. For someone to actually bring that character to life and give them facial expressions and have them have dialogue and all that kind of stuff and come across as charming while also coming across as sinister, that's going to be tough. Like, Sauron's actor needs to be fantastic. Also, you have to take into account the fact that Dragonfire can melt most armor, so I don't think chainmail or scale really matters. Well, if it's magic armor. Maybe Dwarves equals Vikings, Rohirrim equals Saxons, and Gondor equals Normans. I think Gondor feels very Byzantine. So, like, I don't know about Normans specifically. I think like Byzantine sort of like Romans. I think that's more Gondor. We've got some. Hydrodominus says, I imagine dwarves figured out how to make armor that withstood fire pretty well. I wonder how they tested it. Here, you stand in front of this blast furnace. We've got some armor debates going on. Cardinal49 says, wokeness strikes again. Smiley face. Smiley. Tara Lenyon Moranwe says, elves and other men consider the Amazon custom of the folk of Halef strange. Yeah, it definitely wasn't the norm. It definitely wasn't the norm. While it did happen sometimes, which is why in Lord of the Rings Online, when it's like the kind of it's the exception rather than the rule. It's like, I definitely don't really take notice of it. But in the show, if it's like 50-50, it's going to be something that you can't really you can't really like ignore. But hey, I don't know, like people say like equal rights, equal equal fights or whatever. I saw someone say that comment earlier. So I don't know, like maybe it'll be fine as long as we see some Númenórean women get brutally murdered by orcs. That's horrible to say, but if it happens to the Númenórean men, it has to happen to the women. Xavier, Erendis was wrong when she said that men would return to the great game, the killing of men. Turns out that women are on that train too. Yeah, it turns out Erendis was just a massive loner. She's just like... she's telling Encalamain, oh no, it's only men who are like that. And then... Meanwhile, the women are going off to war too. Do you think a real-life show or anime cartoon could make the First Age real? Honestly, I know this might be a controversial take, but I feel like the Silmarillion would be best done through animation. I just don't think, I don't see how it could really work as a film or a TV show. I mean, it could sort of maybe work as a TV show, but I don't really, it's too big a scale. There's too much going on. I think it would just work best from an animation. In saying that, I think, the individual stories, like Beren and Luthien or Children of Hurin, could definitely work as a film. So, Hydrodominus says, I have a question. Why the hell is Gilgalad walking around with his war spear in his courtly clothes? I assume it's just a promotional image, I imagine. I imagine it's not like a scene. They just switch a scene and he's just standing in his room he's like, I look good in this armor. Let's see, I just can't imagine it. I hope it doesn't surprise. Maybe if the War for the Rohirrim is successful, maybe we get more anime cartoons. Yeah. Tara Lenyon Moranway says, Tolkien did not appreciate the Normans because they spoke French. That's why. They spoke French and then they came to Britain and they spoke French there. Tolkien did not like the French. Maybe it's a bit of a stretch. He didn't really like the French language. Lauren says, what if Sauron has to come down in the meteor every time he changes form? It's like Just uh, that's a bit extreme. Like he like gets into a form and he's like, actually, I don't like this. Oh well, I have to go through the hassle of being a meteor again. Who am I going to land on this time? Um, Mr. Straw says, indeed, as it was the Norman invasion that was responsible for England's lack of mythology. Oh, well, they built nice castles. What if Sauron had to have a marriage for every ring he gives out? That's a weird one. What does that even mean? Like, what, the people he gives the ring to have to be getting married, or he's getting married? Hydra Thomas says, imagine Aragorn sitting down for dinner to cut his meat with Anduril. You know what? Book Aragorn probably would do that. Like, Book Aragorn was, like, flaunting Anduril all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if just to flex on people, he just sits there and just whips out his sword and just goes, "Yep, I'm the heir of Isildur," and starts cutting his meat. Gilgalad walking around with eyeglass just feels weird and try hard. Like, he's the High King of the Noldor. He can do whatever he wants. Harry Everett says, Silmarillion would be a great animated anthology series. I agree. And Xavier says, I completely agree with you. We all agree. I'm glad that in a Rings of Power stream, we somehow managed to all agree on something, even if it didn't really have anything to do with the show. Jim Ayres says, Sauron is Mormon. Maybe? Is that a Mormon tradition? What's the Mormon tradition? Is it the handing out the ring and getting married all the time? Or is it the falling down as a meteor? Okay, so here's another leak. This exclusive. Elendil's main sword in Season 1 is much plainer than the one shown in the poster and resembled the Numenor cavalry sword. So Narsil doesn't seem to be a thing at the start of the show. Was Narsil forged by like Na'vi or something, or was it? I think it was Na'vi or something. Did he forge Narsil? So like maybe he'll be in the show and maybe he'll forge it. I don't know, but maybe there's something that maybe they'll try and make a big deal out of Narsil being forged. I mean, it's not a big deal. Sure, why not? Or maybe Narsil is already a thing, and maybe he just doesn't. Maybe in the leak that they've seen, he just doesn't really use it. Speaking of the huge the chat that just went on about armor. Here we go. The Númenórean army had white fish scale armor, helmets plumed with white horse tails, swords with horse head hilts, like that on poster 10. So, yeah. So it kind of threw people off. I remember when the first sort of images, like the promotional images, came out. It threw people off that there was lots of like horse ornaments and stuff. And people were like wondering if there would be like some proto-Rohirrim in the show or something. But yeah, I think now it's pretty clear that it's the Númenóreans, and Númenóreans did love horses. We know that from Nature of Middle-earth. We know that Númenóreans absolutely loved horses. So it makes sense for them to have like lots of horse-related stuff. So this one's fine. Has a white fish scale arm. Okay, despite being an island-based nation, Númenor will also have a cavalry which will come into play in Season 1. So, the cavalry debate. So, yeah, I just said before that Númenóreans loved horses, but what they didn't really use horses for war. What we've learned, what we know about Númenóreans' usage of horses in war is that they use them as they use them as scouts, and that a very interesting passage actually says is that they had auxiliaries of other types of men who would have like light cavalry and would be like horse archers. I believe that was what was said in. I think it's maybe in Unfinished. It's in something. I remember seeing it. I don't know the exact quote verbatim, but there's something about like them having auxiliaries who do ride horses and stuff. But yeah, from what we know, the Númenóreans didn't have like heavy cavalry. So them having cavalry in season 1 here, it's kind of ignoring that. Yeah, Númenor's army should basically just be like heavy infantry, and then like their archers, like that. They have really long range weapons. And we see these traditions get followed on by Gondor, who also didn't really use much cavalry and mostly relied on heavy infantry and archers. So the Númenor having cavalry thing, so far, like law breaking, we'll just have to see what they, see how they used it, what they do. So, okay, what things we got in chat? Maybe Sauron is a Norman. I don't think Sauron spoke French. Sauron definitely spoke German. Is that 2 on the... That's also 2 on the nose. He's a Melkor's witness. Hey. Melkorism is... Don't be throwing that shade on Melkorism. Josh Thomas Moore says, does Númenor have cavalry? I thought they needed other factions to fill that role. Yep, so Tyler Nyomaramwe answered that below, saying, yeah, they did not have their own cavalry. They got their cavalry from others. And we see this with Gondor in the Third Age as well. A lot of their cavalry came from their Northman allies. So Númenor was the same. Telkar and Nogrod, was he was the one that forged Narsil? Okay. Maybe that was Sauron died when his finger got cut off. He could get a blood transfusion. I don't know if he needs a blood transfusion from just his... From, Wait, oh, I see, you're making a Jehovah's Witness joke. I get it. Okay, yeah, we've got another confirmation of Telkar was the one who forged Narsil. Every army has a cavalry, except the Númenóreans, as we've learned. So the Númenóreans look like movie Rohan, sort of, but not really. They should look more advanced than Rohan, but have a lot of the same like emblems and sigils and shit. I'm interested in seeing how Elendil acquires Narsil. He completes a quest. He slays 10 orcs, and some random quest giver gives him Narsil. Tyler Moreau says, Unfinished Tales, Disaster of the Gladden Fields. Is that where it's mentioned about the Númenorian cavalry stuff? There we go. Hydra Dominator says, no matter what happens in this show, it's going to suck. Every single little thing is getting on my nerves. Well, I mean, you're not alone in that opinion, Hydra. As I said, it's definitely going to be... It's already controversial, and I think it's going to be even more controversial when it comes out. Like I said, I'm definitely going to give the show a chance. I'm gonna give them a chance, and even if it sucks, I'll keep watching it. I'm gonna watch it because that's my thing. I'm a Tolkien fan. I'm not, even though I have a lore channel, I'm not a purist. I don't really consider myself a purist. I'm always excited to see what other people's takes on the Legendarium are. I'm always interested in stuff like that. And if it does suck, I'll watch it like I watched the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. Like, I went, like, a lot of people in chat probably went through something similar. Like, I watched, I've read the Song of Ice and Fire books before the Game of Thrones show came out, and there was a lot of pain. The show was generally good, but there was also a lot of pain in the show, like, as a book reader, like, stuff that was like, oh, I don't know about that, that's stupid, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with that, blah, blah, blah. And eventually, after season 5, the show became a bit of a parody, and it was just enjoyable to watch then because it was a car crash. And maybe this show will be the same. If it's not good, I'm still going to watch it because I love watching a car crash. Okay. Josh Thomas Hellendil pulls Narsil from a stone. That's screw it. Why not? Just have just random shit like that in the show. That'd be great. I would love like just like an absolutely insane take on Middle Earth, like just with completely random shit like that. Like that would be funny. The first stage flashbacks are the thing I'm most interested in. Yeah, I agree, Serban. The first stage flashbacks I think will definitely be quite interesting. But you know, as a fan of Finrod Felagund, who has appeared in the teaser, and it seems to appear, I'm interested to see what they do with him. We know his fate, we know he dies, but I want to see how he what he actually does and how he appears in the show. Helen Dilkus and also like Link in the first Zelda game from some random guy in a cave. Look at Lucas YT says you should do reviews of the show. You know, I probably will, but I'll probably wait until the whole season's out. I'm not really a fan of the whole idea of reviewing each episode by itself, because I think for me, TV shows are like video games in the sense that, like, sure, you can, like, you know, you can enjoy certain parts of games, you can dislike certain parts of games, and it's the same with TV shows. You can enjoy certain episodes and you can hate certain episodes, but like just like a video game review, I wouldn't review a video game until I finished it, or until I get to the point where I quit, maybe because I hate it so much. It's the same with a TV show. I would, like, you know, I definitely watch it till the end before I review it, just so you have the whole picture. Just so you're not like reviewing like one episode and you're like saying all this stuff, and then in the next episode it gets explained, or it gets like, you know, resolved, and you end up looking like an idiot or something. Like, I mean, Roger Thomas says Sauron graduated from Slytherin. Unfortunately, Harry Potter references are lost on me. I've never read the books or watched the films. Sauron was Voldemort's dad. Oh, come on. Sauron would have a more attractive kid than Voldemort. Xavier, Finrod is Arondir's dad. But yeah, see, that would be like the kind of stuff where I would laugh so much. Like, it would just be so funny if it's just like, it's just Arondir finds out he's Finrod's dad. It makes zero sense, and it would be like so wrong, but it would be so funny at the same time. Okay, we got so here's another leak that I wasn't a fan of. So one of the things that I'm most one of the things that I'm sort of most concerned about with the show, one of the things I want to see the most is I want to see a really good portrayal of Numenor, because in the sort of Lord of the Rings related media so far, we haven't really gotten to see, like, you know, the kind of the height and the glory of Numenor, or like even Gondor. Like, you know, in the Lord of the Rings films, we get to see Gondor at its worst, and like the Gondorian soldiers are like stormtroopers. They're like completely useless. You know, it's the they obviously don't appear in The Hobbit. And then meanwhile, we get to see elves look absolutely amazing. We get to see dwarves look absolutely amazing. I think in Tolkien adaptations so far, men haven't really had their time to shine. Or the Rohirrim have, but like the Dunedain and the Númenóreans haven't had their time to shine. So I really want Numenor to like truly be portrayed as like this powerhouse, like this glory, like, you know, the glory, the wisdom. I want all of that. Like, maybe less the wisdom and terms of like the framing of the show, but I don't want the Númenóreans to be, for the lack of a better word, bitches. Like, they got to be the real deal. So when I read a leak like this, like apparently the Númenórean army hadn't been to war for hundreds of years and were excitedly heading off, expecting glory, left to a street parade, which was complete opposite of Faramir and co. riding off from Minas Tirith to Osgiliath. Ooh, it's like this. Minas Tirith, your local stripper joint in Minas Tirith, strip bar. So, like, um, what's kind of so I want to read these two leaks together because they kind of they involve the same thing. So, as Numenor hasn't been to a war or had a fleet for hundreds of years, they are very excited as they don't understand and expect the danger to come and instead can't wait. So, what makes me worried about these two slides is that it feels like very much like a World War One kind of. It gives me a World War One kind of vibe. Like with the whole like, oh, we'll be home by Christmas, and all those young men couldn't wait to go off to war. They couldn't wait to go and get glory. There hadn't been a great European war fought in like decades, and then they walked into machine guns, and then it was horrible and brutal, and it sucked for everyone. I don't want it to be like. I don't want Numenor to sort of be portrayed like that. I don't want them like they say here that they're heading off and it's going to be glorious, and I don't want them like marching off to war, like and then for it to be like we get to Middle Earth and everything wasn't like we expected. Oh God, we can't handle this. I don't want it to be like that. I want like Numenor to be like this. I want them to be like the military powerhouse. They have to be like the like I said before, the real deal. Like they got to be going to Middle Earth, and they have to be going to Middle Earth and kicking ass. Like that's for me, that's important. Like I don't want the Numenorians to come across as like green or like they get to Middle Earth and the elves are like, oh, you guys haven't seen anything yet, and the Numenorians get there and just get their asses kicked. Like they have to be dominant. That's basically what I want to say. And these two leaks don't give me that impression. Like I like this part. Like they leave to a street parade, which was the complete opposite of Faramir and Co running off. So there's probably trumpets playing, and there's like probably crowds who are like, so happy to see, and everyone's like, like everyone's so happy and all that kind of stuff. Like that sounds like Numenor, but the other stuff gives me like a very bad vibe, so to speak. So, it seems like they kind of. It seems like, obviously with the time compression, it seems like at this point, like this can make sense. This makes sense if they're dealing with it in the sense of Tar Minastir's army. During the War of the Elves and Sauron, Numenor hadn't fought a war at that point. When they like. And this bit was accurate. They hadn't fought a war. They didn't have a military fleet. That's why they arrived to the war quite late, because they needed time to build that up. But when they did arrive, they absolutely wiped the floor with Sauron. So, I guess if the time compression sort of comes into it here, and that the season 1 Numenorians are more meant to represent like Tar Minastir's Numenorians, then that's not so bad. But yeah, like I said, a little worrying. Like I wasn't a fan of these leaks. Like of these leaks, really. I mean, there's 6 slides here, and only 2 of them I felt good about. I felt good about this one, and I felt good about the Elendil one. The other 4 were kind of worrying to me. All right, so we got some comments in chat. Morgoth will be director of Darkness from Legend. Galadriel was adopted by FNAF. Yeah, he just picked a random blonde girl, and he's like, "Yep, that one's mine. It looks like me." Gilgalad is the son of Orodreth or Finrod's. He's the yeah. So Tara Lenyon is giving out some great answers in the chat here. So that's correct. Gilgalad had like several different origins. But Tolkien eventually settled on Orodreth, so that's the one which I think they might go with, because it's the most correct one. So Elrond, I am your father. No, Galadriel, I am your father. Jeez. Jim Ayres, Numenor's army should be practically unstoppable and kind of wear 7-foot freaks of nature in armor. Yeah, unfortunately that's a thing with like a live action adaptation. We can't just find like we can't just find a full cast of 7-foot monsters for Numenor and like also have them as like good actors, unfortunately. I suppose they could do like, they could make them look taller using like the same visual tricks that Peter Jackson used, but I imagine it would be kind of difficult. I guess we'll have to. I think we'll have to live with our 6 foot tall Numenorians. I prefer he stays Finrod's son. It makes more sense than him being the son of Orodreth. Why? Is Orodreth not good enough for you, Hydra? Orodreth, poor Orodreth. I've given him shit too. Sauron's secret weapon in the Second Age is machine guns. I mean, Tolkien never said that Sauron didn't have machine guns. I love that argument. I've seen it. I forgot who said it. Maybe it was Michael Martinez who said it, who does like a lot of like Tolkien lore stuff. But I think he said something like I think it was him. He said like the mini Uzi argument in regard to in regard to things that haven't been mentioned in canon. Like it's the whole idea that orcs are never mentioned. Like it's never said that orcs didn't carry mini Uzis, so therefore orcs could have carried mini Uzis. It's the same with it's the same with machine guns. They never said Sauron didn't have machine guns, so he could have machine guns. Because Gilgalad would have been in a fucking Nargothrond the whole time. Gilgalad. Oh, that's a great typo. No, he got sent to the Falas to chill with Círdan, but funnily enough, Finduilas didn't get sent there because Orodreth apparently valued his son more than his daughter. Nolarin, there is no such thing as a weak Númenorian. I mean, maybe there is. Maybe a Númenorian with, like, brittle bone disease. That could be a thing. Okay, Bard says, hello again. Hello, Bard. All Númenorians are bodybuilders. Well... I mean... Maybe. Tolkien never said that all Númenorians weren't bodybuilders. So I don't know if there's Here's a picture of what could be our Númenorians in their white scale armor. As you can see, we've got the armor here. It got mentioned as white scale. I think this is the scene here where we've got Galadriel riding. So she could be riding around with a group of Númenorians here. I wonder what that's about. Maybe she's in Númenor at this point. I don't know. I wonder if there will be Easterlings and how they would look, says M. Corte. I think there might be Easterlings. There might, like, I mean, I think Easterlings and Haradrim will make an appearance. I don't know about the first season, but there's going to be 5 seasons. I don't think the show will get cancelled. There's just been too much money thrown at it already for it to get cancelled, I think. So I think there's a good chance we'll see new Easterlings at some point. Is there any reference to Spanish culture in the whole Tolkien legendarium? Lucas YT answered it. No Spain, only Spain. Josh Thomas Moore says, Númenorians strike me as being like the Romans, an unstoppable force that once started can't be stopped. Well, I mean, I don't know. Then what's going to be the Teutoburg Forest? The Númenorians were kind of like the Romans. They sort of destroyed themselves, but the Romans had other problems going on. So, probably South Gondor. Yeah, South Gondor. I mean, well, like some of they have like a Mediterranean sort of environment there. So, I guess you could say that's sort of Spanish. Jonathan DK, I thought Númenorians. I thought Númenorians were impervious to sickness until they, got a bit more Melkorish. Okay, so yeah, that was so it is mentioned in, I believe, is it the Calabeth, where when Númenorians get a bit more Melkorish, as you put it, they do start getting stricken by sickness and madness a lot more. But I think in Nature of Middle-earth, we're told that Númenorians were highly resistant to disease, but weren't completely immune. I think elves, and I'm fairly certain dwarves are mentioned as being immune to sickness. But Numenorians could get sick, and I think it's mentioned that when Numenorians like made their initial like sort of expeditions to Middle Earth, they would sometimes get sick, and that was how Numenorian healers became so good. It's because they sort of like got to study these diseases. Fairly certain that gets mentioned in Nature of Middle Earth. I did a stream on Nature of Middle Earth ages ago, and I think that was one of the interesting things I read. But maybe that's just all in my head, and I'm just making that shit up. I don't know. There's too much information. Okay, what else we got? You can find anything you want in Appendix BS. Yeah. See, that's it. I found it in Appendix BS. Haradrim are like a mix of Mexican and African anyway. How did you get Mexican from the Haradrim? I don't know. Oh, here you go. If you smoosh North South America with Europe, Africa, you get Middle Earth. Mexico and Africa follow the equator line. I still don't think Mexican. I don't think Haradrim are Mexicans, or Mexicans are Haradrim. I think the Haradrim. I think like the people of near Harad are kind of like Saracens, and I think like far Harad are supposed to be sub-Saharan Africa. But hey, I don't know. Someone can do like an edit where like instead of you know that sick Haradrim horn that gets sounded at the Battle of Pelennor Fields, instead of the sick horn, there's like a mariachi band playing instead. Okay, yeah, Harondor like was like probably like a mix of like Dunedain, Numenorians, and Haradrim, so there might be something going on there. Is it true that Tarmiriel is queen for a time? Wasn't she immediately dethroned by Ar-Pharazôn? Yeah, so that's how it happened in the I believe that's how it happened in the books. I don't think she officially ever really ruled, but I think in the show they're making it so she's ruled for a time. It's basically to make it a plot line and draw it out a bit, which I think is fine, as long as like I said this at the very start of the stream, but like Amazon, like they are contractually obliged to like hit certain story points, and like as I said, they can't kill characters that didn't get killed, and they can't keep characters alive that lived, as far as we know. So they can go with the whole idea, they can stretch the whole Tarmiriel being queen for a bit, but I believe they will have to make it so that she does get overthrown. Okay, I'm trying to find if there's any more stuff here. So what have we got? Josh Thomas Moore says technically she would have been queen the moment her dad died, so she was queen till Ar-Pharazôn marched into the room. I mean, I guess it depends on like what do you consider it? Is it like it? I imagine she'd probably need like a coronation. So maybe the coronation never occurred in the actual books. I've always thought of near Harad being like the Middle East and Arabia, and far Harad being sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah, that's exactly what I have in mind. Hydra Dominatus. It's not even about racism. Oh, I don't think it's racist to think of Haradrim as Mexicans, but I think it's like completely out of nowhere. I thought it was hilarious. Alright, so I don't know if there's really much else to sort of weigh in about the show. Here's what someone mentioned about the on the changes to the audiobooks on Audible. Someone mentioned that at the very start of this stream. Um, yeah, there are some things we still don't really know about the show, like Tar Palantir. This is a good question. Like, any news on Tar Palantir actor? We don't know if Tar Palantir is going to appear in the show at all. If he's just going to be like dead at the start or something. Maybe he'll get like the John Aaron treatment from A Song of Ice and Fire. He'll just be dead at the start. We don't really know how Celeborn's going to be in the show. I don't think there's really much else to talk about in regards to the show. But if you guys want to ask some questions in chat, or maybe bring up some talking points, we can kind of. I'll see. I'll sort it by from more than a month. So we'll go a year. We'll see if there's any things that I've missed. I find this interesting. Here's like the first. So here's a throwback. Here are like the first pictures of Fellowship of the Ring from Vanity Fair in April 2000. There's some very interesting pictures. We got the Hobbits looking like a boy band. So it just goes to show that like press releases, like stills from press releases have always looked kind of funny. Arwen going through like a goth phase. Aragorn looking like just some dude. Like dude that's been stood up in the street and they've caught a photo of him. Pippin's model shot. Alright, so here's some of the stuff that... Okay, see you, Lucas YT. It's been good to have you. Enjoy your 3-hour car journey. Nolaran says, this live stream has made this day better. Well, thank you, Nolaran. It's made my day better too. Numenorians came from 3 houses of the Adine. You came from the east and Middle Earth, not the south. And, well, yeah, like, all men came from the east. Originally. Do you think there could have been a China-like civilization in the Far East? Probably not. China was quite advanced, like during medieval times, so probably not like China. But like Easterlings are supposed to be like sort of. I think Easterlings are supposed to be like sort of Asians, Turkic Asians. So, Mexicans are on the race to blonde Mexican. Yeah, it's true. I guess that they're a nationality. Out of curiosity, where would Asia be in the books? In the East. Easterling's like a mix of all Asia. Yep. Mexican Haradrim playing mariachi stuff into the battle is the best thing I've ever heard. Wait until you see their food. Haradrim dressing up like luchadors, doing elbow drops from the top of the Mumakil. Why do you think, Xavier says, why do you think that the Haladin language was forgotten in Numenor? By the time Vignalonde was founded, the Numenorians didn't recognize the Haladin peoples as kin. Okay, so what I believe is that obviously the Haladin didn't interact with the other two groups as much. So that's one thing. The Haladin also weren't really as advanced as the other two groups. They didn't interact with elves as much. So one possibility is that maybe the Haladin didn't like write down. Maybe they didn't have like a written language, so that essentially their language was passed on orally. So when their survivors went to the Havens of Sirion and merged with the other two groups, we know the Hadorians were by far the most numerous of them, so it's possible that the Haladin just merged with them, started speaking their language, and then their language kind of just died off. That was a thing that did happen in Tolkien's work. Languages would just die off and stuff. So I think that's a possibility. I think that's a good chance why they didn't recognize the language. It says that Gondorian historians later realized that they were distant kin, but the Numenorians at the time didn't, and then didn't care to. I'll be right back. I'm just going to refill my water bottle. Okay, what other questions do we got? Were there any people living in or near the land of the sun? I don't think so. I think the land of the sun was empty. There's some very interesting quotes in regards to like the land of the sun and like the eastern seas that describe them as like still and dead and kind of eerie, to be honest. So think of them as like kind of like think of them as like part of a video game where you go out of bounds, and the devs haven't added stuff into the world. That's kind of like what the lands of the sun give me, that kind of vibe. They're just kind of dead and empty. I don't think people live there. Horatio, son of Rome, says the Easterlings represent all Eastern people. Yeah, that's it. The Easterlings aren't just one group. There are lots of different groups. I just feel like the writers of the show huffed a lot of glue and went on woke fan fiction pages for ideas. I don't know about the writers going on fan fiction pages. If you'll know about it if they go on fan fiction pages, because every character will be gay. If anyone's went on read like a lot of Lord of the Rings fan fiction, it's hilarious. There's some funny stuff. Lots of Aragorn and Legolas romances, and some of the Sauron and Morgoth artwork you'll see. #Angbang, some funny stuff. So I don't think the writers will go that far. Horatio says, but the Balkov and the Wayne Riders are clearly Turks, Scythian, Mongols. Yeah, I've always thought of the Wayne Riders as like Huns. I don't know who the Variags are meant to be. The Variags are in fact a mystery. I will probably do a Middle-earth Mysteries video on the Variags at some point, because they're kind of interesting, because they're like one of the... It's a word that we don't know. It's like a word that doesn't have an origin. We don't actually know where the word comes from, like Variag and Khand. So, interesting stuff. I hope that we get to see the Númenórean steel bows. I do too. If they took it from fanfic, it would be better quality and so there's two types of Lord of the Rings fan fiction, or three types. You get your occasional one where someone is like trying to like fill in Tolkien's gaps. Then you get the romance fan fiction, and then you get a variant of the romance fan fiction where it's a teenage girl writing themselves into the story, and like, oh, such and such suddenly found themselves in Middle Earth. What shall they do? I love fan fiction. I don't know if Tolkien would love it, but I love it. Alright, so this is the rules that Christopher Tolkien requested Amazon to be followed in the show via Fellowship of the Fans. So this is... So I said it was contractually obliged, which I'm not sure if it is. Reading this, it seems it was a request from Christopher Tolkien. Whether these requests will be followed, we don't know. Hopefully they will be, because that would be a very dick move if they didn't. But so it's some simple. These are his 3 requests, which are quite simple. So I said, if a character dies in an event in the Second Age, they have to die. So Amazon have bypassed this with Keller Brimble due to time compression, so he is alive while Isildur is, etc. But he will presumably still die. If a character does not die in the Second Age, they cannot be killed off no matter how small their involvement is in the Third Age or in the Lord of the Rings. So Círdan, and presumably Celeborn. And the final request, a request that Christopher Tolkien apparently relayed to Amazon, is that he didn't like the repurposing of lines in the Jackson movies to different characters, and requests that Amazon doesn't do the same. So this one should be fairly easy to follow, because, how many lines are there? There's not many lines that Tolkien actually wrote from the Second Age. So this one, so these 3 requests should be fairly easy to follow. like, and they're, they're I think they're solid requests. Absolutely nothing wrong with them, and hopefully they do get followed. But hopefully this maybe I don't know, lowers people's fears a little bit. But don't put it past Amazon to do something scummy. As a practicing archer, I'm wondering what these steel bows look like. I've never found a picture of them. I've heard somewhere that like Indians used steel bows at certain points in history. I've heard that they steel bows were actually used by like Indians, so I'm not sure if that's true or not, but like Fëanor burning the ships, or Thingol abandoning Kidda in the first Battle of Beleriand. Josh Thomas Moore says, Amazon not pulling a scumbag move, press X to doubt. Hey, they normally only normally only do scumbag moves when it comes to their wallet. So you'd think that following Christopher's requests wouldn't hurt their wallet, so therefore they have no reason not to follow them. What else have we got? Kind of, there's not much else really. I guess we'll have to wait and see, eh? Well, all right, guys. There's not really much else to talk about in regards to the show. And my voice is starting to go. As you may have noticed from the grimacing and the coughing, and the drinking of water. It's also 12:30 a.m. here, so I'm getting pretty tired. So I would like to thank everyone for joining me, and thank you for keeping chat alive. Thanks for the laughs, thanks for the questions, and thanks for the general positivity, guys. I know, like I said, I know there's plenty of people in the chat who are, definitely not happy with what's going on in the show. There's plenty of people who will watch this who will not be happy with what's going on in the show. But I think if there's I think if there's one thing that we should all kind of do is, as fans of this, is to if you're gonna direct your anger at anything, direct it at Amazon. Don't direct it at your fellow fans. We all have our own opinions on stuff like this. I would say if I was going to impart any words of wisdom, I would say give the show a chance, even if you don't want to pay for it. Fucking pirate it. That's the only thing I'd say. Hopefully it'll be good. It might not be. There's a very good chance it won't be, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'll read a couple last things in chat. Does the Tolkien estate actually care about Lord of the Rings? I'm not sure. I mean, it's made up of some of Tolkien's family members still, so you'd have to think so. Hopefully, it's not always the case. Family isn't always reliable, but Indian Steelbows is true. Cool. I'm sure they do, but money talks louder than Grandpa's work. I was wondering where the can of Coke was. I haven't. No, there's no can of. There's no can of Coke here. There's no endless can of Coke for this stream. Steelbows were, like in Castle Ranger, popular in the late Mughal India in the 1700s. They were worth military weapons and status symbols. The people who work on this show should be ashamed of themselves. I don't think so, man. It's everyone needs to earn money. Everyone needs to eat. I'm sure there are some very passionate people working on the show who truly do care about Tolkien's lore. I think we should, like, even if you don't like Amazon, I think we should at least give them people a chance. Not everyone's out to ruin everything, okay, guys? But anyway, thank you everyone for watching. I've really enjoyed this. Hopefully I'll do another live stream relatively soon. I've got some big news coming up, so which I'll talk about in a couple of weeks or something. But until then, thank you everyone. Have a good day / night / wherever you are and whatever you're doing. And cheers. And remember, fish scale armor and chainmail armor is different from each other. If there's one thing I've learned from chat, maybe that's it. Anyway, cheers. Bye.